Welcome to the podcast. Today we're back with Naomi and we're going to talk about biological health and how it leads to mental health. We're going to talk about the signs that you're running under stress, even if you don't feel like you are. We're going to talk about what can cause huge drops in motivation. We're going to talk about the power of hormones and how much they can influence your success, why individual DNA testing can matter, why you should focus on optimizing your health. And I'm also going to clarify this. We're not doctors. We're not medical experts. This isn't medical advice and shouldn't be taken as medical advice. This is just a conversation between the three of us that we hope you find entertaining and valuable. I'm Dennis.
And I'm Greg.
And this is the More Profit, Less Stress podcast,
where we provide the tools for more profit and less stress in your business now so you can turn into a valuable asset later. Welcome to the More Profit, Less Stress podcast. I'm Greg Forzani here with Dennis Takema. And our guest today is Naomi Keene. We've had Naomi on as a guest before, talking about her experience with her business and her journey in her business. And through that conversation, a big flag popped up in the middle of the podcast about getting into hormones and just as people age, both men and women, what happens and how it affects us. And that lit off light bulbs in all our brains to realize, wow, we need to do another podcast with Naomi and talk just about that because it's a big deal, right? Dennis and I as coaches, we see it with clients, and Naomi can maybe help us today understand better what's happening and why it's happening. So with that said, Naomi, if you can introduce your company and yourself, because I think from Dennis and I's perspective, we could say you're an expert in this field, but I think let's talk your story first about how you got to where you're at today, that gained all the knowledge and is giving you the expertise that we can kind of learn from today.
My name is Naomi Keene. I am the founder of O Aesthetics in Calgary, Alberta, or just outside of Calgary, Alberta. We're a tiny med spa, and we were a business that was birthed through the pandemic, and lots of learnings happened there. So I had a business prior to this business, and the pandemic kind of just flattened us out. So I think there's kind of 2 points in life, or common points in life, when you look for coaching, and that's typically when you're struggling. And I'm trying to shift now before we get to that struggle. And can we equip and surround ourselves with the experts and the tools and the skills and the people who have the know-how to help us not only just exist and make it through this season of struggle, but rather actually thrive and own it and feel our best. And as business owners, to often leave profitable as possible as well. So
yeah. I love you just said season of struggle. Wow. That was a great way to phrase it, because it is, right?
It is.
Like
They're all seasons.
It's like, well, when this struggle's done, it'll never be another one. Wrong.
Right? The struggle to onboard and hire, the struggle to develop your playbooks, the struggle to understand your pricing, like every tool you guys have and that I have been so grateful to learn and implement, it was a season, right? The next step or the next milestone. And it came up where I found that when I was given tools from you guys, it was because I was struggling with something in my business. At the
I'm going to steal that word seasons. I think that's a great one, because it's a different word, right? It makes people go, wait, what season? What? And then it clicks. Yeah, it's good.
I think it also helps you feel better, because like seasons change and like, you're done, right. It's like, it's not forever. Right? You can learn the lessons and apply. We're done with that season. On to the next. Summer around the corner.
I had a mentor one time. He said, that phrase, this too shall pass? I'm like, yep. He says, it's great to remember when things are bad, but you should also remember that when things are good. This too shall pass. He's like, I think too many people focus on that and the bad stuff. And then when things get good, they don't go, hey, I should prepare because this too shall pass. And so it's part of that whole, when it's going well, everybody assumes it's well forever. When investments are going up, we assume up forever. When they're going down, we assume down forever. And life has never been that way. It's always been a roller coaster.
This is a really good point because, and I know there's a diversion, but I think a lot of companies get in trouble because when they're in a good season, they're not preparing or setting themselves up for what a bad season ahead. And then when the bad season happens, they're done. Look at 2020 through 2023. That was a great example, right? But yeah, I think that's insightful. Yeah.
We're always growing. Like, I think that's the goal in business, right? Like, I know, like, having that boring, steady business, that was never something you start thinking about. Build your business to sell, like, work yourself out of your business. Like, sure. Really? Who thinks of that really at the very beginning with that wholehearted intention? And So you just are doing well. So you keep growing, you keep investing, you keep, instead I've learned seasons.
And buying toys and
Yeah.
getting bigger spaces and
Buying
new equipment and
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
I did all that. I did all that.
Yeah. And lots do though, like lots do. Yeah. Give us your story, sort of the highlights of it, your journey.
Okay. So the story, yes, I think business has been such a big personal growth journey. And what I found myself saying the last few years is like I'm noticing I'm getting a bit overwhelmed. The effort it takes to learn the new tools or implement the new tools or fix the problems was feeling a lot harder to do than normal. I also noticed my motivation was changing. I kept just saying, I don't feel like myself, but like my capacity to do and handle is not what it used to be. Like, why? And then of course, being the problem fixer and the knowing next what to do and the decision maker and the founder and all the things, like I should be good at this. I should be able to figure out the solution, find the problem and figure out the solution and just implement. Like, no big deal. Couldn't do it. Also had no words or education or a circle of friends even, or circle of business owners even, to lean into that maybe had the experience to say, hey, we're noticing this in you. So where did I go? I went to my GP.
Right.
And it was a worse experience.
Here's some pills or a prescription. Subscription, same thing.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's like a female thing or business owner thing, but I think there's this like level of pride of like, I can fix this and I got to dig myself out of this hole and I have to figure it out. So that's a
business owner thing.
Yeah. The lack of communication around it that I was allowing myself to do out of shame, out of fear, out of ego, whatever it might be, was also at the same time hindering my business drastically, and then also hindering like my mental health and my overall well-being. And the second I just started talking about it and owning it, and the conversation started, I literally think my business is broken. I don't know what's going on. And revenue was fine. COGS were like kind of crappy because it was, it's COVID and we know what the marketplace has been like for the last few years. And if you're not watching those costs of goods, you are going to be losing in your business very easily. But I was doing the things. The gross revenue was about the same, our booking percent, like the metrics, the KPIs were about the same, but I was feeling terrible. Yeah. So I just started talking about it instead of being like literally, maybe I need a new coach. I don't know what's wrong. Like, I don't know how to get to feeling better. The business isn't really doing that bad. I shouldn't feel like this. Like, maybe it's time to sell. What's happening? And the more I started talking just about that, I realized so many people around me were feeling the same way. And they were some of your students even. So I like to argue, maybe a little biased, we actually know how to run our businesses better than the average person out there. Or at least be able to step outside of what we're feeling and analyze the numbers and the business like straight up, and then be able to make some decisions, or at least separate how we're feeling emotionally from what we're experiencing. I couldn't do any of that. And I realized a lot of people couldn't either. And so
it's interesting, and we want to keep going with this, but since our last podcast with you, and we're noticing even in our own life, talking with friends, neighbors, whatever it is, like we had friends over the other night for dinner, and this conversation consumed the whole night. This whole, how you feeling, what's going on, time of life, the whole evening was this conversation. And I laughed. I looked at the husband and I'm like, can you imagine rewinding the clock 5 years and saying 5 years from now, this is going to be our entire dinner conversation tonight? I'm validating your point about people are talking about it.
It's a really slow growth in the sense that these changes aren't drastic. It's not like, okay, you've got a device in your business broken and you got to go fix that. You've got a terrible staff member that's underperforming and they're not a culture fit. Like it's not drastic enough like that for us to notice. So, and again, every season is a new season. So you don't know what you don't know. Right. And if you don't have the mentors and the coaches that can, and the friends and the experience, in my opinion, now like medical team around you, we're in kind of the first generation where this is really
talked about.
Yeah, right, Dennis? And also, like,
Right.
we are also a new generation that wants to optimize as well. Like, we are the generation, I think, of business owners that are ready to do things about the problem and like find the solution and implement. Like, let's go ahead. No emotion, no attachment, no ego. Like, just tell me what the problem is and then show me how to fix it and I'll fix it. I don't even care. I just want to feel better. I want it to work better. I want to make more money. I want it all to like be better. So I do think at the same time that that's a really cool culture of business owners to be in. And I'm sure not all are like that, but I would imagine that a lot of your students are like that. Like, that's why we hire coaches. That's why we're here in this program. So yeah, that's what I started noticing was a quiet decline, very quiet decline.
I noticed a lot of that playing pool, of all things, because like with pool, you got to learn things like trigonometry, hit the ball, whatever else. And there's sometimes I'd have some really, really, really great games. And I'm like, I'm on fire right now. And then there's other times I'm like, why can't I sink something as simple as the 11 in the corner pocket when it's sitting right freaking there instead of bouncing it across the table? And what occurred to me was my skill hadn't changed. My skill was the same. If my skill wasn't the same, then I wouldn't have those really, really, really great games. So what was the difference? The difference was the mental approach to the game, right? You're just not seeing it the same way. You're hitting it a little bit too hard. You're inside your own head. Like it's so easy to spiral and beat yourself up, but the skill set's still there. But now it's like, I suck at this. I'm horrible. It's but it's all crap because the skill set is still the skill set. But we don't talk about that. We just say, well, in male circles anyway, it's shut up, buck up, and get back to work. Stop whining. But it's not always the solution.
Yeah. And I think that's a little bit, at least for my experience too, Dennis, I think as a female business owner, that's also a thing we do, right? Like, we're playing in a man's world, so we have lots to prove. We show up a little bit more in our masculine energy than we do in our feminine energy. So do you have even a circle of girlfriends that are in that energetic, path? And of course, when we're doing well, like, we know the answer, we can fix it. Like, we'll be fine. Like, I got this. And that, I think, is the hardest roadblock that I'm seeing right now in fellow business owners, also just like women alike and men alike. They're in such resistance. I don't know if it's like shame, if it's whatever, ego, but
Ego's a big one.
Like, not ready to admit, well, I'm not feeling my best, because they don't know exactly why. There's no pinpoint, like, one specific thing. It's lots of little things, right?
Right.
And I should be able to cope because I used to before, and I was thriving before, and everything was good, and my pocket was flush, and like all the things. So I know I can get back there. So we just don't talk about it. We bear it on our own. We try to make solutions, and then what I'm starting to see now in my mid-40s is like female suicide conversations left, right, and center. Everybody wants to just fucking close the doors or sell the business, like, literally. And that's the energy and the tone. I'm like, whoa, like, what's happening?
That's where Dennis and I are like, whoa, stop.
And I'm sitting here talking about it, but you guys, like, honestly, I think about it every day.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, is this my hormones, or is this really, or like, and middle age is a thing. We've heard about it. Like, men have their crisis and they go buy this beautiful sports car. Like, it's a thing. It's a real thing. We get to midlife and we are contemplating the rest of our life. I think that's like an evolutionary must. And yet we have huge shame around it, and we don't have tools to support going through the season. And heaven forbid you're a busy business owner that, has a family and all these obligations and runs a team, and, the dollars are on your shoulders. And like, that's a lot.
As you were talking there, I'm trying to imagine I'm a listener and I'm like, hey, wait a minute. What are some of these signs, right?
Yeah.
So can you share from your experience, or where you see, what are some of the signs that are these little things that people just, it's just a thing. Like, what are those? What are some?
I'm going to speak from the female biology. The first thing I started noticing was interrupted sleep. Okay. And I think as a business owner.
What do you mean by interrupted?
Yeah. So I was waking up consistently around the same time throughout the nights. So for me, and again, it doesn't mean that if you don't have the symptom, you are not in the season. That's not what that means. But these are just what I started to notice first. Did I acknowledge it? Absolutely not. But I started getting interrupted sleep. So for me, it was like a 2:30, 2 a.m. wake up, followed by another 4:30 a.m. wake up. And as I know now, that is a direct correlation to cortisol cycling. So drop in estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, changes in body composition, all of a sudden, all of, my cholesterol in my body is being eaten up by stress hormone. But I didn't feel stressed at the time. I'll tell you, I did not feel stressed. Obviously, I was going through a stressful period, but I didn't physically feel stressed. And I didn't physically feel like the things I was dealing with were causing me to wake up in the middle of the night.
Meaning you didn't have any stresses that were more than a normal, like your normal business owner stresses. It was the same thing, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So I started to track my sleep. That was the kind of the first thing, because we know, like, you don't sleep, like everything sucks. Your brain power, your emotional well-being, you look crappy, like all of the things, mood, neurochemistry, brain regulation, like it just doesn't happen without sleep. So the foundation's always, are we sleeping? Are we eating well? And are we moving our body? I preach this all day long before we tackle any lesson in life or business. Feed the basics first, and then let's take a look. I was doing all the things. I had incredible sleep hygiene. I was able to put my business away. I was able, to move my body every day. I fed myself, really well. I supplemented well. The things I consumed with my mind were well. And yet here I was waking up in the middle of the night. So what do? You go to your doctor. Okay, look, I'm not sleeping. I need help sleeping. First thing they prescribe is a sleeping medication. No idea if I genetically can even metastasize or metabolize this drug. Am I even allergic to it? What is it? And is the dose in a dose that is going to be beneficial for me? I think that's a lot of medication prescription, is we just have no idea genetically how everybody does with processing something. Me, completely poisonous in my body. So I trust my GP. I take a sleeping medication and my life goes downhill very, very, very fast. The sleep turns into almost insomnia. And now I can't keep my emotions together. I'm contemplating my life, yada, yada, yada. I can't focus. I'm noticing the word is right there. I know what I want to say, but I can't. Obviously, I stopped the medication, wasn't on it for very long, but long enough to know okay, I need help with my sleep. And also, why can't I focus? Why can't my brain remember what I want it to remember? Why am I stuttering all the time? I can't do basic, thought processes. I can't do basic math. I can't function. So that was sort of the second symptom I noticed. And I was 36 when I started noticing these things happen. So relatively young in our modern acceptance of what midlife or perimenopause or andropause, if you're a man, was. Lastly, I saw was experiencing emotionally and mentally a huge drop in motivation for me. Just things that got me excited don't and didn't anymore. The creativeness, I'm an inventor by trade. I always have too many ideas. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are there, and didn't care, could care less. I was bring on the boring business. Bring on me never having to step foot in it. I don't care. I literally don't care. I don't care if it burns down. I don't care if it blows up. I don't care. And that, I started noticing that was the next phrase I was saying a lot. I'm well, I don't care. Whatever. If it makes sense in the spreadsheet, then we'll do it. Otherwise, I don't care. And this comes from somebody who's super passionate about lots of things. And then physically, my hair started falling out. It was thinning, and I'm very self-conscious of my hair. I love my hair. I'm attached to it. And it was falling out. So that was making me go insane. I had booked a hair transplant. I was on my way to Turkey. I was doing the things. And from somebody who's super fit, I was getting mid-stomach, belly fat. What? And nothing that anybody would notice, but I noticed. Heaven forbid I'm going to go do a workout class and, yoga, Lululemon ambassador and fitness instructor by trade. There's no way anyone's going to see me in a bathing suit or a sports bra. Heck no. Never put it all together. Never, ever put it all together. And yeah, I saw therapists that were just you're working too much. I found another GP that also said that's too high stress. Let's put you on a proton pump inhibitor and maybe we can calm down the stomach aches and that will help you with your weight. Here we are. And thank goodness I had all the tools from you guys that my business was able to run fairly normally and profitably in a very safe and healthy way. We didn't grow in any capacity, but we didn't die. So I was lucky that I didn't have to go through the season while I was learning about business or building something new. I kind of had like it implemented for the most part. And I was a good student. I was like, okay, if this tool makes sense, I'm just going to implement. I'm not questioning. I'm not like, whatever, just do what they say. These are the experts, follow the path. So I was good that way. But all of a sudden, this was very, very, very new to not want to do business. Like, and Greg knows, I had conversations with Greg. It's like, well, you're 22% net margins. I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care, Greg. You can't tell me to care. You can't convince me. You got to open another one. Like, this just makes so much sense. I'm like, I don't care. I literally don't care. I was like, I don't even want to sell it because
I was like, this is me sticking my head through the drywall going, what the fuck?
And I know what it takes to sell a business. It's not easy. You think you don't like your business? Get ready for the season of selling and listing. And then the endless first dates with people about why your business is so great. No, thanks. I'd already been there. Greg, you could not convince me. I don't care if it makes money. It's going to be easier to unplug the machines and close the door. And guess what? We're in that season economically right now. I don't know if anybody's read Main Street Millionaire by Cody Sanchez, this huge opportunity to be buying businesses from people that have no succession plan and their business is like a mess on the book. So really hard to list and sell.
That opportunity's been around the history of business. That's always been there. It's the number one. Anyway, that's a diversion, but it's by far and away the number one marketing strategy you can do is
I know
failing businesses.
I know. And you had perimenopause and like family and so anyways, I just noticed I wasn't myself. And here I was, I had an amazing team, you guys. Like they didn't need me for anything. I never had to step foot in the business. It was profitable and I hated my life.
So someone feeling all this, what are I don't want to go straight to here's the solution, but kind of I guess number one, how do they start to make the decision? So I think it's like, how do they make the decision? Then what are some of the steps? And you know, I'm gonna give you a plug in the middle of this, in that if anybody's living in Airdrie or Calgary, they can reach out to your business and get help with it. But also you'll do some of this virtually, right? So
absolutely.
So they can reach out and at least get advice virtually, even if they're living in Texas or something. I don't know why I randomly picked Texas, but
well, I think the biggest thing that I learned from you guys is the numbers don't lie. The numbers are always going to dictate a decision that you make. They're also going to like make you laugh sometimes and be like, oh goodness, of course this isn't working. Look at the metrics, right? Or I have to let this staff go, unfortunately. Like I've given them all the tools, or you know what? This person wasn't a fit. I didn't follow the process. Like whatever it might be in business, I've learned it's not about me personally anymore. I've been able to detach from that, but the numbers are always going to be the guiding light. And so if you are 35, male or female, you need to get your numbers checked. Before this might not be it. You might have, past trauma that's holding you back now. That's all developing. You might really have dysfunctional relationships in your life that are really contributing. But at the same time, if you're 35, male or female, from a preventative state, go get your hormones checked. Go get all of your levels checked. Get your blood checked and start with that. And that's like, I think, a huge piece. So that's where I started. I also seeked high and low. And sadly, in Canada, we don't have as much access, nor do we have as much experts or as many experts running around in these fields. We're just a smaller population and always behind the States with this kind of stuff. So if you're in the States, there's no excuse. You have access from your home, from your phone. You don't need to see a practitioner. Google away. You can have everything sent to your house. If we just don't have that capability in Canada. And I didn't know anything in my early 30s. I look good. I look fit. Everyone's like, it looks great. There's nothing wrong. Oh, but let's get you on some mental health meds. Maybe that will help.
Right.
In Canada has a huge population of people on mental health meds, and same in the States.
Yeah.
Like the suicide rates among men and women are high. Men, it's particularly high. We had a whole mental health thing on that. And it all seems to happen, like you were mentioning, around the same age and stage. And the problem I run into with the medical system, and I'm not bashing the medical system, otherwise in some ways I am, but they base everything off averages, right? Like when I got into hormone studies on men, particularly, because of course that's where I spent my time looking at, is they put you on this ratio. And this ratio is, if you fall anywhere in this ratio, you're obviously normal. Yeah. Well, okay, I understand where you're trying to come from, but I'm 5'11", 229, 20% body fat is a completely different metric than somebody who's 6'4", 300 pounds, or 5'5", 120 pounds. You can't say that this average works for everything. So I can even go get my numbers checked from a doctor, but that doesn't mean everything could be perfect, but the symptoms could still be off the chart. So I know you're saying look at the numbers, but I go back to, why not look at the symptoms first? Look at what's going on in your life and find out if you could tie the symptom into what's actually happening, and then chase that back to a number that's relevant. Because I started with the numbers, and from when I went through my whole hormone stuff, the numbers, everything was perfect on the numbers, but then why wasn't I?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it made me dig a whole lot deeper.
Fair. And Dennis, I completely agree with you. I think too, the numbers for you, and when I say it, I mean genetically for you, and not, I am anti-average all day long. And I agree with you 100%. So part of the numbers is getting your DNA tested. So, and also like what factors in our lifestyle and in our biology attribute to you having the number you have, right? If you are short on B6, well, that's a major component for a few hormones plus a bunch of processes. But what Dennis needs to be at his safe level can be toxic for mine. And yet we're both in the average. And so 100%, Dennis, I do think it's a combination. There's lots of perimenopausal and andropausal doctors that don't even look at numbers. They are symptom-based. But great, you know your body, you know your lifestyle. So if you have access to DNA testing, I think it's super important. I do think optimizing with micronutrients that are made for you in doses for you that you actually can methylate. The version of B6 that Dennis can take might be a completely different version of B6 than I can take. We can talk about folic acid. Dennis might have.
Folic acid is a big one. Like, it's a big one.
52% of us in North America have this MTFR gene. And some doctors will call it the mother effer gene because it kind of sounds like that. If you have that gene, you cannot methylate folic acid. And so what are women told during pregnancy? They need folic acid. But do they? They might need folate, a version of a methylated form of folic acid. Children. Why are we seeing ADHD and other mental health issues rise right now? Well, they're all ingesting processed foods, enriched wheat flour.
Fortified
with folic acid that more than half our population cannot methylate. It's poisonous for us.
Well, right? you even take a look at postpartum depression. You take a look at the vast majority of prenatal vitamins, and they're all fortified. And yet, postpartum is off the charts.
Manufacturers. I know we want to go down conspiracy theory. I will get there. But folic acid, who's the biggest producers and who are the biggest medical producers, also all of the drugs that combat mental health issues that arise from it. So yes, Dennis, I agree with you. Your symptoms are not do not undermine them, even if they're small. Like I was just like, well, I'm stressed. There's too much on my plate. I'm waking up a few times in the night, right? I'm bored. I'm not inspired. It's just midlife. Like COVID was hard. This is trauma. Like I'm rationalizing every symptom I'm having, right? Oh my goodness, I'm in a long distance relationship. That's like the whole nemesis. Oh my gosh, my sister had a baby. I wanted one and I didn't. This is why I feel like this. Like every single, all I did all day long was think about why am I feeling this way, and self-gaslighting the whole time about why I was feeling this way. And that's like, there's got to be something better. So
can I rewind for a minute? Because, people might listen to this and some people are going to listen to this and go, oh, that's me. Okay, I'm going to listen to this and make all the notes. I got to do this. Some people might listen to this and say, that's not like ego, whatever gets in the way. That's not me. So I want to rewind just for 2 seconds and kind of, I guess as bluntly as possible, say this. If you're a business owner, your number one asset should be your business. Should be. Number two asset will probably be your house or an investment or whatever.
You're talking physical assets.
Yeah, money asset. Yeah. And the reason that's so important to talk about is because if you're a business owner, when you go to retire, if you don't build that business into an asset, it is like, this is as sure as death and taxes. This is like the third thing. If you're a business owner and your business, when you go to retire, is worth nothing and you just close it, it's 1,000,000% guaranteed there will be regret. It's guaranteed. But the funny thing is, you will not be able to go back in time and fix it. It's too late. So I say that because of the advice you're giving and the symptoms you're talking about, and people are going to be battling this. I don't really want to deal with it. My situation's different. Naomi, you don't understand. My situation's different, right? Is what people are going to be saying. It's the head trash. And if I could plead, if you're a business owner, you got to deal with this. You got to address it. You got to accept it. It's reality. And you got to push forward and figure it out, and take the advice Naomi's about to share, we're about to talk about, because when you go to retire, your business will be your number one asset that's going to fuel that retirement. And if you don't do it, it's guaranteed you'll have regret and you will not be able to go back in time and change it. You're going to struggle through retirement. And
yep,
why?
and you're going to run out of time, and your body is not equipped for you to power through it. Like, it'll stop when you can't do it anymore. So I think one thing that is great about most business owners is we don't just settle. And I'm sure there are, like Sandra said, 95% of businesses are failing. Like, it doesn't stop unless we stop. And so if I don't want to stop, what do I have to do to thrive? Because this can't be in it. Like, life can't just be working and trying to get through it and survive. Like, I was not ready to tolerate that. I'm like, enough has been taken. COVID sucked. I don't want to suck anymore. What do I got to do? So just like anything in business, we're given a tool. We work really hard at it. We implement until we master it. Okay, like, you feel like shit. Okay, your responsibility, your body, your responsibility. And if I could tell you that there is a thriving side on the other side, and I was like, hey, yo, I got a tool for you, what would we do? We would just follow the path, follow the spreadsheet, implement, and track. And so, yeah, I'm like, you aren't going crazy. It's okay to have these ups and down days. That's also part of entrepreneurship. But if they're not mostly up and you're not feeling your best, I know your situation's different. Every situation is different. But I also promise at the same time that they all probably almost identically mirror each other. The second I started talking about it, everyone was feeling the same. And I was like, wow, we're all in the same stage of our life. Or talking to women who are 10 years further in business than me and 5 to 10 years older than me. I was like, this is not going to stop. Like, I have 10 years of this.
Right. This isn't a short season.
No. And it gets worse. If you don't do anything about it, it's not like, okay, in 10 years, it's over. No, 10 years, you're on the other side of this, but you're divorced, sadly.
Yeah.
You talk to some of your kids or you don't. You did walk away from your business. And you are older. So your capacity isn't the same anymore. And I argue our 40s to 60s, if we're optimizing and taking care of ourselves, are going to be some of our highest functioning business years. And so
no, that's a fact. That the numbers actually reflect what you just that is actually factually true. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, so if I'm coming into my best years possible and I feel like this, wow, we have problems. And I can't even imagine having a whole household that you have to run and children you have to look after. And I'm a rare case. I also acknowledge that I have a lot of privilege in the sense that I don't have the same weights as a lot of other people. But y'all, I am suffering and was suffering very, 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 severely, that I can't even imagine. If you have more on your plate than this conversation is for you, and you run a business and you have children in the house or adult children or whatever, or a committed relationship that you want to keep intact, all while being able to retire well and sell your business for a profit and actually just waking up every day, this is your job as a business owner.
And by the way, a lot of those people, their 20-something and 30-something kids are moving back into their houses right now. So it's even another.
I did that. I did. right? At 35,
Yeah.
I moved back in. I lost my house. I lost every asset I had and I moved back in. I loved it though. My parents are cool and it was just like so cool for a family. But that was a whole nother like, well, this is why you
Yeah.
feel bad. So I know it's a
Right.
thing. It's a thing.
Yeah.
So I started with DNA. That was like the biggest motivation for me because the science, I could understand that. I could wrap my head around it. What do I need before I start any kind of medication? What do I need from a micronutrient level and a macronutrient level to ensure that my body had the building blocks that it needed? And I was eating in a way that my glucose, my brain, and my sleep could really optimize just naturally. And so I did blood work. I took DNA-based micronutrients and everything changed just from that. So the power of nutrition and food being medicine, also being poison, I could really stand behind. And
Wow.
that was the first step. Yeah. And I was looking in my bag. I don't think I have one with me, but I have this like little sachet. So I get these little micronutrients. They're from Austria and they are methylated versions of vitamins for me that are time released specifically for how long my gut takes to absorb certain nutrients. And
Do you mix them in a drink or something, or what do you?
you just like put them back. Some people put them in
Oh,
yogurt.
really?
Like,
Okay.
yeah, they're kind of annoying because they took a bit. I hated them. When I first started this journey, I had such poor gut health that maybe this is TMI. They call it sprinkle poop. So if your gut and your digestion is really bad, this comes out the same way. And it took me about a year for
Sorry, back up a second. The package says sprinkle poop, or you're just making
No,
that
that's
up?
what we call it though. When your gut is
Okay.
really bad, right? And like Dennis had said before, gut and head, like on our last call, like all related, 100%. And if we're eating bad foods that are, permeating your gut lining and destroying our intestines, our brain is going to be messed up too. Right. So
Right.
started on these and yeah, I had sprinkle poop. This was like, it was going in me the same way it was coming out. And it took a
So
year.
doesn't your brain use like 20% of your energy, burn like 20% of the body's energy or something like that?
Yeah. And
Isn't it?
sugars
Yeah.
and all the things. So that's where I started on a gut health journey. And it was very interesting that if all I did was change my vitamins, that my hormones also changed. My blood work completely changed. My ferritin changed, like my T3, T4, like so many massive markers. My thyroid changed. So I was like, wow, here's a health professional who thinks she's eating really well. But I wasn't eating for me. So to go back to like, symptoms or what we know, like everything has to be individualized and your symptoms are so true to you and your numbers are so true to you. So I started there and then I started feeling a little bit better. Nothing crazy. Like it wasn't like if I took this too late in the day, I was wired up in the evening and I was like, oh, there's something here, right?
There's something there. Yeah.
There's something here. But my gut was so bad, I couldn't take these on an empty stomach in the morning. I'd be like nauseous. Like, when you take vitamin C on an empty stomach, like you're feeling like crap.
Right.
That's how sensitive I was.
So to validate what you're saying, we have 3 dogs. My wife and I used to own a healthy pet store. So she knows pet nutrition like really well. We were feeding them the best possible food you could buy. But even she noticed all 3 dogs need to be on different, and you can see it because dogs' intestinal tracts are shorter than humans. So it happens even faster, like the change. So we noticed like they could be on the healthiest food, but one dog gets the runs, another dog does this. So to validate your point, I get it. It's so true. Like we could see it just with the dog. You got to feed them differently.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And with the genetic testing that I did, I learned like how my body wants to work out, what my circadian rhythm is like and my chronotype. Like, so we talked about optimizing energy. Dennis is an early riser. Sandra likes to get, going in the evening, like learning about my body enough so that I could optimize, right? Learn the tool and like exploit the tool and learn how to get you the best KPIs on the other side. And that was sort of always just a theme. I understood that principle as a business owner. And so I realized if I am not well, there's no way this business is going to survive. It doesn't matter what kind of money it makes because it was making good money. I literally didn't care, you guys. And I didn't have to go into work at all. Like I did not care. I'm like, oh, client complained because of something, whatever. There's a million other clients. It doesn't matter. Oh, we could probably get some more money and grow this part of the business. I don't care. Don't care.
Well,
Like,
those are signs.
yeah, big
Yeah.
signs, big signs. So I started
Yeah.
with micronutrients. I could understand the science. It made so much sense to me. And then I started learning more about my genes and actually reading all of the results. I had no idea, really small things. I shouldn't be eating apples. I was eating like 3 a day. I loved apples. I love peanut butter, something that is hard for me to digest. Eliminate them. Inflammation down immediately. Brain fog completely changes and I'm sleeping. Because I was eating apples and peanut butter before bed. And I was waking up kind of with a stomach ache, brain fog. I felt hungover when I woke up, had no idea. These are healthy foods, but genetically
So
not okay for me.
without going down too much of a rabbit hole in this next question, because we got more stuff to cover. Actually, this question's for both of you, because I know Dennis has done a deep dive on one of these questions. Let's talk two things. One, because I notice, like Dennis and I work with business owners every day. When things change up here, we can tell like immediately. Like immediately we know what's like there's something wrong or going on. So two questions, if you can both talk to both of these. The first one's an easy one, and I know Dennis has deep dived here too, but vegan diet versus non-vegan diet, like the whole that discussion, how it affects the brain health. And the other one is I can tell if clients start doing too much marijuana, like it just fries the brain. You can't, nobody on planet Earth can tell me it doesn't affect the brain, because I deal with it every day. I see when clients have gone down that path and the brain fog just goes, like I can
see it
see
in
it.
skin too. In the clinic, we're in a med spa. Like, it's not the same progression as somebody who's a smoker in terms of like fine lines, wrinkle, looking youthful or looking way older than you are. It's not as gradual. It's kind of like, I'm like, oh, they're a raisin. Like they're great, they're juicy, they're plumpy, yummy grape, and then all of a sudden one day, terrible things. And we can't reverse that. So for sure, if it's happening on the exterior, Greg, I could only imagine what's happening on the interior. Like I can't even drink alcohol really anymore. Like that's
Yeah,
I have
same.
to know I'm giving up sleep
Yeah.
and I'm giving up 3
Yeah.
days of power brain thinking. And
Same.
like the motivation now as a
I
business.
just had to throw out like 3 flats of beer because it's been in our house for so long, not opened.
Yeah. Well, and that's a shift that
It expired
happens
in like 1950.
perimenopause. Yeah, for sure. Our ability to detoxify. Plus we talk toxic load over time for sure. Dennis, you're not a vegan, are you?
No.
There's, I'm not gonna be a proponent of one diet or another.
Because everybody's genetics is different.
That's what I really figured out and went down.
Yeah.
So like I went down the whole, well, I got friends that are hardcore vegan, and one of them I was talking to specifically, and I didn't realize this, but when in the deep conversation with them, the way they feel on meat is horrendous.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so for you, meat doesn't make any sense. However, you shouldn't deprive your child of it because it doesn't work
Right.
for you. Now, for myself, I found I've gone hardcore carnivore, like hardcore, went at it for a couple of months. I felt okay. Like I didn't feel like what the proponents of it say, which is like Superman, you could take over the world. I had to blend more things into my diet to make it make sense. So like, I'm not a proponent of saying, hey, this is the only way. Because even when I dove into my genetics, and I've done something similar to you, I took a genetic profile, I broke things down, I figured out what worked for me, what didn't work for me. It took me about 2 years of adapting and testing and trying to figure things out. And then it takes even more discipline to stick to it, because some things are still just delicious, and I like delicious things, even if my stomach goes, that was a really bad idea, and my energy goes, yeah, your stomach is correct. My mouth doesn't always agree with both of those things. But once you figure that stuff out, I can't come back and say, no, you have to be vegan, you have to be carnivore, you have to be paleo, you have to be whatever, because it's so different. Like I operate the best, and I found this to be true, on a 16/8 intermittent fasting schedule. If I don't eat before 3, my focus is way higher, my attention's way higher, my drive is way higher. If I have a big breakfast, I crash. It doesn't matter if it's 100% protein, or it doesn't matter if it's all carbs. I crash. So I think each individual has to figure out what works for them on that side of it. And I've seen people on the wrong diet, they don't function well.
We see it as coaches, like if a business owner on the wrong diet, you just see the brain go like, yeah.
And usually
so
it's
obvious.
body composition. We can just like look at somebody and I can just tell if they're thriving or not. And that has nothing to do with being overweight or not, but it's, it's like, it's a reflection of all the systems that they're either implementing or not implementing, and the education that they have, and also the passion to put in 2 years to figure out how to optimize how they feel the best.
Well, and what I found fascinating for me, what got me down the whole path of hormones, like hormones, I find interesting because the very first thing they do is they tell you to castrate your dog or cut out its ovaries. Very first thing you're supposed to do. I'm like, okay, so hormones are just hormones. It's just reproduction. Nothing else matters. It just is what it is. And then I went for a full physical and I found out that my LDL was apparently off the chart. The bad cholesterol was super high. And I was talking to my doctor about that. He says, yeah, this is a common Dutch problem. I've got kids that are 10 years old on statins to bring that LDL down. And I went, okay, well, that must be true. So he put me on a baby dose of a statin. And within 24 hours, 12 hours, I speak fast and I talk fast. And it was taking me 5 to 10 seconds to process a question. Like my brain literally just shut right down. And when I told my doctor this was going on, he basically called me a liar. He said, what you're talking about isn't on any of the side effects, so you're obviously lying. So then I was like, so then I
it's
walked
not on the
office,
package. I don't see it on the package.
and I went off the statins and I never went back. And then I started diving into cholesterol like crazy and tried to figure out why so many bodybuilders have high LDL. And I started looking at all of this stuff and you start to figure out there's a tie-in between LDL production and saturated fats.
Yeah.
You start to find out that if you look at Japanese studies on cholesterol, and for anybody listening to this, do your own research, but higher total cholesterol equals lower all-cause mortality, and yet we're sitting there driving this number through the floor on most people. I know someone in my life who's in his 70s who's had perfect numbers his entire life and had 2 heart attacks. So you look at causation and you're like, well, this doesn't make any sense. And if you take a look at overall heart attacks from cholesterol, I'm just going to stick on that topic for a second, it's 50-50. 50-50 with high and 50-50 with normal that have heart attacks. So there's no correlation between the two of them. So there's this driver to drive the cholesterol down at the same time you're plummeting hormones. It's like there's so many things in the human body that you can't just turn one switch and expect all the other switches to line up. And it's so unique to each individual that I can't just say to you, go do this, and it's going to solve your problem. But that's what the medical system does. It says, this switch is your problem. So you flick that one, but then this one fails. So I had to do my own research on myself to figure out the proper pathway for it. And it opened up so many doors of learning things.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think it's honestly so true, Dennis. I think going back to the interconnectedness of everything, like this was my journey and these are the tools that I know how at this stage in my life to implement and support and help other people with them, because this is where we are. But I'm sure when I'm 55, I probably will do other things too. The experience is different and we'll know, but I think it is super interconnected. And I think the biggest takeaway as a business owner is my well-being is my responsibility. And that has to be just as important, and keeping that like strong and good for years to come as keeping that like spice alive in your business and keep it rolling and growing. Like you can't have one without the other. There's no happy business owner with a dead business. There's no, dead business owner with a happy business. It's like they don't relate. If they've done all the tools and they've gone through, training with you guys, I'm sure they can make their business just roll, because I did. But I also want to know, like, well, what was left on the table for those years that I was suffering?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And also, it's hard. Don't you want to feel good?
I think way too many people get caught up in this. This is just my age and stage of life, right? Like I've got people in my life that are in their 70s and they look like they're in their 90s. And I've got people in my life that are in their 90s and they act like they're their 70s. So you can't just tell me it's a certain window of life. And what really got me was after all of my studying on hormones, I thought it applied to my wife. And I'm like, none of this applies to my wife. Like, let's just take testosterone as an example. If a guy takes 200 milligrams of testosterone, that's the equivalent of a female taking 20 milligrams of testosterone. It's 2 completely different biological responses. And as a guy, I'm generally normal 28 days of the month. Well, my wife goes through 4 personality changes. Like you got to learn how to optimize for your gender too. And there's almost nobody talking to women about how to optimize their lives for themselves based upon their cycles. It's all just generic advice that's supposed to fix you. And I'm assuming that with your clinic, you just don't do that anymore. You don't just do generic advice.
No, we do optimize, I just did a talk on like, pull out your calendar. And again, this is another thing, pull out your calendar and I'll tell you how your business is doing. Right? Pull out your calendar. I'll be able to tell you how stressed you are because there's no big rock time here. Like, so we're not actually moving the needle, or, you're lonely because all you're doing is working, whatever. But also show me your calendar and show me the week as a female where you are acknowledging what's happening and you are doing the tasks that allow you to do the things. I don't do any consults in the week before I have my period. I can't focus. I can't think. I don't want to be around people. Like, you think I'm going to sell a high ticket sale? No. So don't do it. Right. The weeks that we're doing big rocks and we're moving and we're adding new things, I never do them that week either. I do it in the 10 days of the month where I actually only feel like myself. Yeah. It's only 10 days. So shitty, but that's when I try to optimize. So yeah, we have calendars in our clinic with our team that are like color coded for all my females in the team because it makes sense, right? I also, as a business owner, look at that before I go approach somebody. I know who I'm talking to, what their personality is like. Are they going to be able to digest or support whatever the conversation I need to have with them? And is this the right time to freaking do it? We're not taught this. No, at 13, most girls are put on birth control right away to help with mental health, to help with their acne, whatever. So right from the beginning, we're not taught at all. So yes, I think this is it's a huge journey. It doesn't start, there's like, hormones aren't everything, but if you're 35 and older, I'd love to inspire you because I wish someone had that conversation with me instead of carrying like regret, doubt, confusion, being gaslit by medical professionals, myself, like older female business mentors, like, they kind of were getting off watching me struggle. And that's like, because they didn't have the help. They still don't have the tools and the vocabulary and the knowledge to even explain what's going on, right? We're so easy to pick on people suffering versus like equipping them with what they need to thrive. And so if I can leave something with listeners, like, whatever you're feeling is what you're feeling. And it's completely valid. But is that what you want to feel? If you want more, I promise there's more. It's a journey and it's going to be different for you than it is for everybody. I like to start in my gut. How's your gut functioning? That's why I can't do a plant-based diet. Lectin proteins are horrid for me. How do you feel in your brain? What are your thoughts like every day? Like, you're not going crazy. You want to sell your business? You want to drive your car into a wall? Like, I hear you. It's not okay, but I hear you. And is there a different alternative? Absolutely. Absolutely there is.
I want to validate what you just talked about because Dennis and I talk about this and we see this. So we see with business owners, and I say this with all respect and I'm just being honest, but we see with business owners that generally speaking, because I track this actually, when a female business owner gets to about $250,000 between profit and wage, so combined, in their pocket. So between the wage they pay themselves and the profit they make, about $250,000 a year, they shut it down from the program. Like, some push through, like some want more and go for further, but the vast majority of the females shut down around that number. And what I never mapped it to before was age. So now I'm actually going to go back and do the age thing. And I can think back now and pretty much say all of them are 40 to 55. They're in that range. They're shutting it down at 250, where men, they'll just keep going for the million, 2 million. I look at my clients and there's a whole bunch of women. I got more female clients than males, and they're all making like close to that 250 number. But then when they get to that 250 number, they quit. All the clients making 500, 750, a million a year in their pocket, meaning wage plus profit, are all male, 100%. And it has nothing to do with males are better than females. It has nothing to do with that. It has, I'm realizing now, it might have a lot to do with what you're talking about. They get to that number and then they got other things going on with hormones and health, and they just shut it down. And it's starting to make sense to me because I'm like, why? I keep saying to Sandra, like, we walk the dogs every day, and I'm like, this is driving me crazy. And not for selfish reasons, for in their best interest, it drives me crazy because, like, if you have a business if you make $250 a year And let's say wage is 100 and profit's 150. And let's say you systemize your business where you can sell it. You'll get 150 times a 4 to 5 times multiple. So that's like $600 to $750,000 you'll sell your business for. And that's nice, but you can't retire on that. Versus if they'd push through and get to making $1 million a year and you sell it for 4 or 5 times profit, or you sell it for 4 or 5 million bucks. Like, but
They don't care.
in their best interest, that's what you're flagging for me right now. And if we could shed light on, like, I guess if they could realize, if they could go deal with this from a health perspective, then for long term, they'll realize what they're building for their family and retirement, right?
Yeah. I think what's really hard with the drop of estrogen is like our nurturing hormone. It keeps inflammation away. So our brain is functioning. It keeps our body lubricated. Estradiol attributes to keeping lean and like hydrated and just like functioning well. And we start to lose this estrogen, our level of care just goes out the door. Right. And I think that is part of biologically, we need this estrogen as we're younger because we're raising families, we're doing all of the things. And then the estrogen starts to decrease. Our level of care for anything starts to go away.
Boy, that does actually turn the light bulb on about why women are quitting at that number, because it's so obvious.
There's a difference in drive. Like I've noticed this with men and women business partners. The female subconscious drives towards stability. I need a stable home, stable bills paid. I need to make sure that my kids are raised in a stable spot. Everything drives towards stability. Guys, everything drives towards conquest. And when you've got men and women that are business partners, I've often found this, they just do this all the time because he's trying to drive for the next level, which involves risk, and she's trying to pull it back to a level of stability. So I think it's also not just hormonal and everything else. I think a big part of it is also just what drives you subconsciously. Once I feel stable, I'm good. Guys, once I feel stable, now I'm bored.
Maybe another way to word that is now we're stable, we're good, we can focus on other things. Where men are like, well, wait, when it comes to retirement, then like, what's that look like? So,
or just the conquest. If I could do this, how much more can I do? If I can get to this level, what's the next?
So Naomi, just to go back, just share a little bit of your journey and experience with regards to diet, what you went through. And again, we've talked about already how you've said like the brain fog, right? How it impacts it. So share a bit of that.
As a yoga teacher, one of the yoga philosophies is ahimsa, and it means basically do no harm. So as somebody who had a really hard time with killing animals, right? That kind of began my vegetarian journey. And through my vegetarian journey, I started getting all these like gut symptoms. So I was like, well, maybe I need to be vegan. So then I went vegan. Symptoms kept getting worse. And I was like, maybe I need to be a raw vegan. So I was basically on and off vegetarian, vegan, raw vegan for a period of about 7 years. And progressively, I was getting sicker and sicker. I didn't know it. Also, now that I have my genetic testing, I also understand why. I've also learned a lot about how plants are harvested in North America. And it really goes to more so farming practices and things that we're doing. So why we can go to Europe and eat all the things and then come here and not.
Right.
I read a book called The Lectin Diet. I think it was
Dr. Gundry.
Dr. Gundry. Yeah. And I saw Dr. Gundry speak and I was like, oh my gosh. And so that was about, I want to say almost 10 years ago now. Anyways, I did his protocol, like reduce lectins, and instantly got a ton of relief. And I just started sourcing, better quality foods and avoided high lectin foods and went on like a 5-year gut healing journey. Basically, it took that long. And even when I got to this place and this was still evident, even though I was feeling quite a bit better and I was eating very differently, I still was not healed. If I went out and ate in public, I would have to fast for 2 or 3 days. Fasting was a huge part of my routine, not for anything but to get my guts back to functioning properly and feeling a little bit normal. And then I found Michaela Peterson and Jordan Peterson, and I followed her Lion Diet protocol and did it for over a year.
Oh,
And
wow.
that was grass finished beef, even so far as getting a beef that was unaged or like half a cow that was unaged. The histamine response, like I was very sick and everything I ate made me sick. Like you're in a flare up state. It's super hard to know what's making you sick or not making you sick. And again, just thriving and probably somebody a little bit more sensitive and honestly just wanting to eat like a normal person. So I did that for over a year. Like, I think there was like 2 or 3 times I took a little break, but literally I ate grass finished beef, unaged. Also, it's so gross compared to aged ground beef. Like the flavor is not the same, and salt and water. And that was it. And that was the start of the biggest shifts in my body. My hair started growing back. My energy came up. My mental health was better. But most importantly, I wasn't waking up every day with like the worst stomach pains. And my nutrition levels, like my blood work was changing. So that was sort of the start of really wanting health. Still knew my mental health was like a mess and it couldn't be just me. It was so much of a mess that, okay, like even if I took all of these problems away, it still wasn't rationalizing how I was feeling. So got into DNA because that made sense to me. And then we started to look at my hormones. And I think, Greg, to talk to your, women in business leaving at the 250 mark and probably being able to trend the age gap, my estrogen started to drop and I didn't know about it. I didn't know what happens. Like, estrogen is this powerful hormone that makes us care, makes us feel good. I think evolutionary, it's there to help us raise our babies and not stop caring about them, because that's what our business as women is. It's another child of ours. And guess what? We don't care anymore. We're tired of looking after everybody and everything and doing all the things. And that's a big theme I hear in perimenopause from middle-aged women. It's like they just don't care. It's a season where the F's are not there anymore. And they like, whatever happens to everybody, fend for yourself. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. So yeah, I could see walking away from my 250 mil. Like, we're not happy. We're unwell. We're not feeling good. And that's if you are working out. That's if you're strength training. That's if you see a mental health therapist. That is if you're eating well for your DNA. That is if you're getting some support hormonally, if that's a route that you choose to go down. Your estrogen's not coming back. It's just not.
Right.
You're not going to start caring just because you should, or the money makes sense. Like you're not.
And it's so much more than just diet. Like when I started studying like things like gym clothing, the amount of hormone disruptors in gym clothing is absolutely insane. Like they put a pair of polyester pants on dogs and those dogs couldn't get pregnant because it messed with the hormones so badly. And yet what's the number one thing that they put out there? It's polyester style clothing. Now, again, anybody listening to this isn't conspiracy theory stuff. You can look it up. You can do your own research and you can look into that. And the food is a battle for sure. They're knocking out all the good things like the saturated fats, all of that stuff. So that messes with the hormones. The clothes messes with the hormones. So much of that is so interrelated, but we just go, no. You've got a bad gut. You must have irritable bowel syndrome. Take these meds.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. And you have to do so much digging and be such a huge self-advocate, but also at the same time, it's so hard when we enter this phase of life where we don't care as much. And this is the time we need to care and advocate for ourselves more than ever. So if you don't have it as a passion and as a hobby, well, it's really hard. And there is no one answer and there is no one solution. And yes, hormones are a big part, but they're not everything. They're not everything. Contrast therapy, like it has to be a lifestyle of wanting to take care of yourself. I think that's the underlying theme, like wanting to stay caring for your business and wanting and understanding that, like, yes, Greg said your business is the biggest asset, but I argue like we're our biggest asset for our business. And so if you know that,
I meant financial.
Yeah. But also true though, right? Like we are the biggest dictator of how much money or not money we're going to make. So if you know that is not investing in yourself and your well-being and spending the time, like we make all these tools and playbooks for the business. Well, this is this season of self-discovery and self-education and self-care. That's the same playbook. Like Dennis, it took you 2 years to figure out how to eat. That's the same thing. Same thing for me. It was years of like doing something because you thought it was going to work and it didn't. And now I'm like, what works for me is going to be what's different for you, but it's going to take time, especially when we're not well to begin with. Like the healing first, then the optimizing next.
So there's a woman I'm really close to in my life, And one of the interesting tests that we ended up doing was iron tests. And we're trying to figure out why so many friggin' women in the same age group
Very.
have like tanked iron and tanked hemoglobin. And we got some blood work done and we took a look at the blood work and the ferritin was at a 6.
Yeah.
Now, for people that don't understand what that means, 30 is low and the ferritin's at a 6. And so at that point, you should have been going for iron IVs and all kinds of stuff. And the doctor said, well, you were at a 3 and now you're at a 6. So you're making progress. Just keep doing what you're doing. So we went around the doctor. We got the IV infusions. We did all of that stuff. And what ended up happening, and this will be on anybody's health journey, is it wasn't better instantly. In fact, it got worse. And it got worse because the body went, I'm a battery. You're finally giving me juice for the very first time in decades. I got to use this juice to power up all of these systems. And so the body's like, I'm going to sleep. I'm going to just power right down because I got to reallocate all these resources. And I found the same thing on my diet and lifestyle journey. I would try something new. I'm like, why am I suddenly feeling worse? I should stop doing that. And I had to reallocate it, go, well, perhaps there were batteries that were dead before. And now I'm actually applying power to them. And you go through this ups and downs of trying to figure out what's the ideal for my energy cycle, my energy level. And nobody in the medical industry talks about it.
No.
Like you'll get some naturopaths and they're called quacks. You watch some YouTube videos and people go off on them as conspiracy theorists. And you go to talk to your doctor and he's like, well, I've seen you for 5 minutes in the last 5 years. So this is obviously your problem. Take these things and go fix it. And then nothing's ever that way, to your point. But once I figured out the system that works for me, and it took, like you said, 2 years, that system becomes what I now follow.
Yeah.
And it's still not dialed in yet. I'm still trying to figure it out because unfortunately what worked at 40 isn't working as well at 45.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the hugest thing. I'm in my first cycle right now where I'm like, well, I was like walking. What's happening? And Dennis, I just had my ferritin checked and my hormone doctor that I like swear by, she was refusing to test it. She was like, no, your
Wow.
hemoglobin's great. Like, look at everything you're doing. And I was like, no, there's something wrong with me. Like, I want to close my business.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, more times in a day than I ever have. There's something wrong. And she's like, well, maybe it's just time. I'm like, check my freaking ferritin. I just recently, and only because my sister was pregnant last year, and same thing. She dropped in her iron and they refused to give her. She was at 11, but pregnant and halfway through. And like, same thing. I hadn't seen her in a month and saw her and I was like, there's something critically wrong. What does she do? All carnivore diet.
Mm-hmm.
And we went, and organs, meat only organs. No one's going to give a pregnant lady an iron infusion unless it's like really, really bad. But from what we know from looking at ferritin, it was bad. She's out of province. She has no way to get treated in Alberta while she's here visiting, but she's too sick to be on her own. So yeah, I was like, okay, well, that's it. We're going liver, heart, kidneys. Went to the butcher, grabbed everything. And like, it was the most disgusting smell in my house for 2 weeks, but she came back like that.
Well, and I think that's what people don't discuss about women's health. Like guys don't have the problem of a cycle. We just don't have one. Right. And so if you're and we'll go back to ferritin for a second. If your ferritin is low, well, as your body starts to rebuild it, it's not like ferritin for anybody listening think of it like an energy storage. So now you're bringing more power into the system, but the very first place that power is going to go is to fulfill the needs that the power system requires, not recharge your batteries. And so if your batteries are like low, chronically low, I don't care how much energy you put into the system, there's still nothing going into the batteries yet because the system itself is still fighting like crazy to survive. So something as simple as just ferritin, getting that level back up, you replenish the batteries, the body can now start allocating and reallocating properly. So why is no doctor or doctors around going, hey, how old are you? Oh, you're premenopausal. Oh, you've had how many children? Oh, okay. Well, why don't we take a look at hemoglobin, iron, and ferritin? If any of those is off, let's fix that problem, but they don't. And so it's up to you as the individual. Like this person in my life, when I found it out, I had to do a bunch of deep diving to find out private clinics.
Yeah.
And you find out how difficult it is to get in there. Right.
Yep. And they're willing, when you find private, they're willing to do whatever you say or ask and inquire. But like
legally,
you have to have some kind of education base to know what to ask for and how to advocate. And at the same time as hemoglobin, iron, and ferritin changing, we're not talking as women, what's happening through this whole fatigue phase? Well, our adrenals are shot complete shot. And those can take 2 years, up to 2 years to like regenerate. So yeah, absolutely, Dennis, right? Like it's not just getting those levels back up. It's like, well, what's the chronic fatigue act? Where is it coming from? And then the third part that I'm learning now in hormones, peptide therapy. So like NAD and how well our mitochondria is functioning and how we're converting, glucose, glycogen, glucagon, and ATP in our body. And like when you feel like crap, like it's such a big hill to get up. So I don't know if there's like a piece of inspiring people, it's at 35, like start optimizing and don't settle for anything less than feeling like so energized every day, all day, except for maybe as you're a woman, a little bit different through the month. But you should be excited for those 10 days or that mid-cycle where you are bumping. And if you aren't bumping, then there's some big, medical things that I think you should start investigating in.
Okay, so Naomi, share some of your routines that you do, like exercise, mental health, stuff like that, that people can learn from.
Yeah, I think, again, to go back to what Dennis said, that what works for one person isn't going to work for all. So I think the real theme here is owning what's going to work for you and actually putting in the work to figure that out for you. And sticking with something long enough, 3 to 6 months before you like throw in the bag. Because changing systems and habits and routines, we know, implement any tool in your business, it's not going to fix it right away, right? There's a whole learning curve, storming, forming, norming. Your body's going to hate it. Your lifestyle's going to hate it. Your routine, everything's thrown off. But to stick with any change for a length of period of time before deciding if it's for you, I do think there's things that, again, we wait till we're having problems to fix them. And I say, like, when you're feeling your best, when we're all in our early 30s, like these are the habits that are going to set you up for living the most audacious last third of your life. And we're just not taught that.
No.
That
Right.
it's not something. So if you're a business owner and you're listening, like the earlier you start, the better. It's never too late, but the earlier you can start implementing. And I always say, like, the biggest motivator for me and the biggest like ROI in investing in myself was also doing it alongside my team at the same time so that the culture shifted.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, really small things like if you don't pack a lunch, bye. Like you're not on this team because I care about what you're going to feel like. Obviously, I care about my business, but those kinds of things, working out together is a thing. Walking, I don't do any meetings now like this. If we're doing one-on-ones or reviews, we're walking side by side, weighted vests on, like those little things. For me, what I've learned is movement has to happen very early in the day. If it doesn't happen, it just doesn't happen. It also sets the tone for me for mental health. I am switching now. I'm noticing I'm getting up earlier. I don't know if this is like a pre-old lady thing, but I'm up at like 4:30 in the morning now and ready to go. So this is the first time in my adult life or business life where the first thing I want to do now is sit down and work. So whatever I need for the best mental health, that's what I'm chasing first thing when I wake up in the morning. And so now it's moving things in my business before anybody wakes up and feeling like I can move the anxiety out of the way because I've got a bunch of to-dos out and off my list. That's helping my mental health more now than working out, where it used to be the other way. So yeah, I love doing things in a group. That's what I know about fitness. Also figure out what you like doing and wrap that up. I don't like to work out by myself. So I go to a class, I work out with a buddy, I run in a group, I do those things. I make sure I take my supplements every day. And the last piece, obviously hormones and the things, I'm really, really, really big on detoxification and sleep hygiene. Those are the two big things I'm chasing. They're not perfect, but they're helping. So anything I can do to help detox my body through sweating, through food, through cleanses, through fasting, through cellular optimization, like blood changes, all of the things I'm chasing. And then right now I'm really working on sleep. It's so hard to manage through perimenopause. I am not like no queen at it by any means, but I completely acknowledge how important this is. So when I used to be able to function off 3-4 hours of sleep, I need like 9 now.
Yeah.
And 9, not even consecutively. It's because I'm waking up. So like I've learned to now just shut the work off way earlier, like the half, my night shift that used to be like from 6 o'clock to 11 at night. That's not a thing anymore. I'm more powerful 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. did with good brain power. So I don't know if that's helpful,
Right.
but you need to move your
Yeah, it
body.
is.
You need to strength train. Like that's a huge, huge, huge thing. You need to eat well. We all know that. We need to sleep. But most importantly, I think your biggest goal in this season is figuring out what works best for you and putting in the time and trying all of the things. You might be a sauna and cold plunge person every day. That might be, guys that there's lots of studies that works for. I like the sauna. I don't like the cold plunge. Not going to do it. And I try to
We
stack
have a
my
client that does the barrel and cube cedar saunas for the backyard, and his business is just like booming. It's
Go
it's
over to Europe.
becoming popular.
Most people have a detoxification system in their home. Like we got
Yeah.
one in the middle of COVID, and our dogs use it 3-4 times a day. Literally, they're scratching on it first thing in the morning. And I'm like, wow, they're so intuitive about what they need and what their bodies want. Like
Yeah.
there's got to be something bigger here. And obviously the science is there. But I do also think like routine, and then schedule it in. Whatever it is that you want to be doing, you got to be scheduling it in, because the self-care stuff goes out the window. We're operators, we're business owners. Like the buck doesn't get passed on to anyone else
Right.
but us. So who sacrifices when the buck needs to be passed? Well, our well-being does.
Good advice. Okay, so if someone wants to find your clinic in person, how would they do that? And then if someone's not in that area, so if they're not in the Calgary Airdrie area and they want to, say, book a virtual meeting with you, how would they do that?
Yeah. Reach out to us on Instagram, o.aesthetics.can, or Google us at O Aesthetics in Calgary or O Aesthetics in Airdrie. I'll do a virtual consult with you. We go through like a little checklist. Basically, I end up being everybody's cheerleader. I validate all of their symptoms, and I feel like they have this big aha moment because it's the first time someone's like, yo, girl or guy, all of the husbands, spouses, boyfriends. I'm like, here's a 4-part perimenopausal like docuseries on Apple TV. Please watch it. They think I'm
So
crazy.
do you work
I'm like,
with men
"Dude."
and women? Will you do those consults with men and women?
I
Or?
refer men out, but I try to talk to every single one I can. Because also what the biggest, and Dennis, you touched on this, the biggest thing, and it's so heartbreaking, I get so emotional about it. I think by the time women realize they're in perimenopause, men have been suffering a lot longer in silence than the women. It's not as severe, right? They're not getting like visibly, sometimes we can't see the weight gain, but I think their mental health is really bad without adequate levels of testosterone, plus just the fact that men aren't forging in community like women just naturally do, right? These little gossip circles. And I see it when we used to run childcare, the little girls are all sitting together and huddled in a circle, quietly playing their little game. And the boys are like all independently roughhousing, doing their stuff. So right from a small age, we're just not taught, I think as men more so than women, that there is support through talk therapy, through connection, through community that men just don't have the same access to. So mental health has really declined. And by the time I'm seeing in, male-female relationships, when the woman's suffering, like there's no one's well enough to help the other one. And there's a lot of gaslighting along the way and blaming and changes. And no one was who they were when they first got together. And so it's just really, really, really sad. And like you said, male mental health and male suicide is on a rise. Same for women. Our biggest gap for female suicide is 47 to 52. Biggest exit of the workforce for females are in their mid-30s or mid-40s until 52. So that's great. Walking away from their businesses. Like every consult I do in the last couple of months, and I don't know if it's because I'm just attracting this, but women are drastically cutting their hours if they're still in that job, or they've completely left and taken on an early retirement. So it's wild.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So it's for both people. But I do think if we're educated as teens in our 20s, like we were taught about a period, but we're not taught about it. We're not taught about how it affects us as a male. Like it's important. You have a mother, you have a sister, you have an aunt, you have a grandma, you have a wife, like you're going to have daughters. This stuff is so, so, so important. And I think a lot of people would take things less personally if they just could understand the biology that's happening behind whatever season we might be in and whatever age we are in. And I feel so bad for our grandmas, honestly, and our grandfathers that like they just disconnected in their relationships. They didn't talk about the things, they didn't have the tools. And I mean, that's why I think Valium and booze was so functional for them back then.
Okay, so and some of these people I'm about to refer to, I think, watch our podcast. So now I'm going to get phone calls and texts about this. But we live in the most amazing neighborhood ever, super close people. They get together every week. Like, it's amazing. Like, we love it. But we're one of the very few people living in the neighborhood that still work. Everybody else is kind of retired. So they're all a little bit older than us. But yeah, the like drinking is the most popular thing ever in that community. So to what you just said, to your point, right? It's like a coping mechanism almost.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Well, a coping mechanism that turns habit, right? You started
Yep.
off for a certain reason, and now it's a habit for a completely different reason.
And
Yeah.
low-grade addiction too, right? Like your brain, your
Yeah.
neurochemistry, your liver enzymes, all the things like, Yeah. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
just want to inspire people to not settle. And that's been sort of like a new driver. And it's given me new passion in my business because I'm like, wow, like I can turn, this platform on. You come do a consult with me. We go over what the programming looks like. We take you on a year journey and you work with a naturopath and a nurse practitioner. And I'm really proud of these two women that I'm so honored to work with. I had a medical director in this clinic for a long time. And finally, I was like, this is what I'm dealing with. Like, any chance you want to start getting educated, and she's a little bit older than me. She's like, whatever's going to help your business. Absolutely, Naomi. But like, I'm not going through that. So, like, it's not, and she's amazing. And I'm like so blessed to have her alongside me, high risk. I'm not in the medical field, and she's a yes woman and a support education person, but even herself, like uneducated when she started. And now we're helping women and I'm referring out. Thank goodness there's some American franchises that have now come to Canada that specifically work with men and hormones and peptides and the fun things. So yeah, I don't think it's one without the other, but I do think the approach, like again, it's so weird talking to men. I'm like, well, how's your energy? Like, how's your testosterone? How's, how are your erections? And they're like, I instantly don't want to talk to me. I'm like, well, how's your mental health? And I see the whole shift in their body
Yeah.
language. I'm like, just seriously go. You do a consult, it's free. They're going to take your blood work right away, which is one thing I love about where I refer right now is like they take it seriously. There's right away, let's just get you some results and come back in 2 weeks and we'll look at your blood. And if you want to do treatment. And it's that easy. It's not that easy for women, but we're getting there. So
Cool. Thank you. Very, very insightful. Like, I'm sure people will have learned a lot and be ignited something in their brain to go down a pathway of trying to figure it out.
yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
hope so. When you're feeling your best, everything in your life is more enjoyable. And the fruits of your labor, whether it's in relationship with your family, whatever, your dreams, your desires, your business itself, the ROI of selling, getting through that, like whatever. I promise that there's no risk or loss if you just start educating yourself and start aligning with practitioners around you and start really looking at your habits. I promise there is like light and sunshine and, sunny skies and a happy heart and deeper sleeps and all the things. You just put yourself first.
Cool. Love it.
Oh, go
I
ahead,
think
Dennis.
the hardest part for a lot of people is just starting the conversation, right? Like even when I went down the whole hormone pathway on my own end of things, the conversations that I was listening to were things around like, yeah, how are you feeling? Right? Like for guys, and one of the biggest indicators of low testosterone is when was the last time you had morning wood? Like that's a question that came up in the thing. And I never thought about that. When was the last time? Because you don't think about it every day. It's not something that processes every day. Guys, it's like, are you having a hard time losing that stubborn belly fat no matter what you do or how hard you work out? That's a buildup of estrogen in your system. And I end up having conversations with guys like that and stuff at church and in different areas. We just start the topic and light bulbs start going off. And I think the hardest part with all of it is mental health is not as easy to spot as a bad broken ankle. Somebody's in a cast and limping around and you have a lot more mercy on them because it's bad and limping around. When somebody's suffering with low ferritin and they don't have any energy, it's really easy to say, well, get out of bed and get your ass moving. Let's go. But I don't have anything left in my batteries. How am I supposed to get going? It's so difficult to look behind the lens of what's going on for someone. And most people are ashamed or they're embarrassed. They feel like they're not good enough or the world has told them, no, just go work harder, go push harder. And I find that now from my end with guys, and my wife specifically has been having way more conversation with women because of my conversations with her. And we just open up the topic to family. It's amazing how much you can start. People are willing to talk as long as someone else is willing to be vulnerable first.
Oh yeah. These conversations don't end when they get started and they bubble and everyone's like me, this, oh my gosh. And they're connecting like the dots as they're happening and they just want to share more. Yeah. So I don't care if you're 35 and up, you are going through this and you are going to be going through this. So like we can go out and buy fancy clothes and like go on this, like, and we're cool to spend money in any way that helps us feel better. And I'm like, this is literally going to impact everything. So like, why not? Right. And the medical system, right? They're taught to treat us when we have a problem. And the conversation is, how do we keep you at your best for as long as we can as you go through this last third of your life? Like, that's what we should be chasing. And, people who are on peptides and doing whatever. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, you want to lose some weight and feel better? Cool. I'm here for it. Like, whatever is going to make you thrive and feel better. And it's not a one, solution fixes everything. But I think opening up and talking about it to normalize it for one, and it's a medical condition. If we all were walking around with broken, casts on our feet, we would be treating each other very differently.
Mm-hmm.
So wait, the five major funds that kind of back the world's economy, like, so their solution of fast food, like more fast food, more prescriptions, make marijuana legal, and more alcohol. So those aren't working. Those solutions aren't.
Oh,
Create hormone disrupting clothing.
yeah, Greg, this is for like mass, like world domination. Duh. So also to contribute as a society and leave a legacy for, future children to come. Like, it is your civil duty to optimize and feel your freaking best. And if you don't, I want to help you get there. Like, no, stop settling. No, you hate your
Well,
business. Fine. Let's sell it. Let's like do the things, but let's like feel good doing whatever it is that you need to be doing.
and I think there's something for people to be aware of too. Don't try to change everything at once.
No.
Like for me, it was a single thing of, why is my cholesterol so high? And what got me down that path was my doctor telling me it's critically high, but he didn't order a chest X-ray or a CT scan or any heart workups. He just said, go on these pills.
Here's a
And it was,
statin.
yeah, it was just that conversation that got me down one path. That one path opened up other paths, and it was one step that led into other disciplines. And I started to find out that as I changed the one thing, there's more things I wanted to learn how to change and more things I wanted to learn how to change. Yes, I went down some wrong paths, but I had to find my own way to navigate. And I did the DNA reports. In fact, one of the things we haven't discussed is how powerful AI can be for helping you diagnose your DNA and what's going on. But I will caveat this. If you're going to use AI to help you analyze that stuff, make sure it's on an account you pay for. Because for the most part, accounts you pay for keeps your information private. Public accounts that you don't pay for puts it out to the ether. And I also remind people that the word cloud means somebody else's computer. So be cautious when you use AI to analyze it, but I've used AI to help me analyze myself. One of the areas I'm just going to say again is pick one thing that's wrong with you and ask somebody like Naomi, or reach out to someone, have a conversation, and don't try to change everything.
Yeah. And then you build. Each year you build. And I mean each year. You can't do all this, right? Like, and often we come to this because we're in crisis. And I say, like, if you're not in crisis and you're like, oh, this podcast doesn't really resonate with me yet or at all.
It's gonna.
Yeah. And even if it doesn't, I still want to inspire you to like our job is in our business. We implement one tool, then the next tool, then the next tool, then the next tool. Like, I don't know. There's a reason why I go in to my naturopath's office and it is flooded with men in suits, exec guys, all getting IVs. And they do this regularly. Like, they're here to optimize. They want to feel their best, right? Like, they're all athletic. They're all fit. They're all sitting on their, like, I'm like, okay, they've got something figured out. Like, heaven forbid, a girl leaves her kids at home or a woman leaves her kids at home and she goes and gets a massage for herself. Like, what? Like,
well, my wife and I have started doing monthly IV vitamins with NAD and that kind of stuff. And I looked at the numbers and I went, geez, this is expensive. But it wasn't expensive once I stopped buying the pizzas and the chips and the other stuff that was feel-good food. When I actually started running that math and pulling out all the extras that I would buy on a regular basis, the IV wasn't all that expensive. It was just a simple shift in how I spend the money. So for a lot of people that think optimizing your health is expensive, it's way more expensive to not optimize your health. I've done that pathway too, and it is a lot more expensive to not feel good. It is to actually feel good.
Hey, Naomi, I'm planting a seed in your brain right now. I saw a business in Phoenix here. It's a mobile IV.
They have them here.
I don't know if they have that up there. Do they?
Yeah, we do.
We do them in-house. The IV lady comes right to our place.
I know. And it's so sad. My struggle right now in my business is, obviously we're a med spa, so we're cosmetic based. And I have these amazing nurses. They're not a fit for this side. They're a little bit younger than me, so they're in denial of the things I'm seeing change already for them, even though I talk about it every day. And there's more money in cosmetics than there is in longevity for them right now. And so that's right. So I literally, right before this, I got off a call with my EA and was like, Kate, let's put a new posting out. I know exactly the type of nurse we're looking for. I'm not even going to fight it. I'm not even going to fight trying to transition the team. We're just going to find somebody who's aligned. say that about everybody that's in your world, the relationships that you're in, the business partners that you know, align with, and, you know, your practitioners that you have around you. But yeah, mobile IVs, totally a thing. Just IVs in general, totally a thing. And it's so sad,
Yeah.
Dennis, like you said, they're so expensive. I see what they go for. I know what the margins are, and it's super sad that I don't even want to get into it. I'd like to make this stuff accessible and make a profit and still help people, you know. But then the FDA is going to come at you in Canada, even for, I can't discount this stuff. I have to kind of play ball with what everybody else is doing. I can't be the discount IVs place because now I'm, you know, slanging drugs.
Hmm. Yeah. So you have to do everything responsibly with your government organizations for sure. Right.
Yeah.
But
But
if I
like,
take a look at how much I've spent in pills for vitamin pills that have all go right, like for anybody listening to this, here's the biggest thing I noticed. If I pop my daily vitamin pill, it changes the color of my urine, meaning there's a lot of stuff passing through my system that's not getting absorbed. I've never had that same reaction with an IV vitamin, not once. It gets fully absorbed into the system. So if I look at spending $200, $300, $400, $500 a month on my supplements at my natural food store, that's the same price as an IV bag that has everything I require anyway. And I'm doing it once a month versus once a day. Yes, there's cost to it, but there's cost to anything and you want in life. If you want to go full grass-fed carnivore, it's going to be more money than going ground beef from Costco carnivore.
yeah.
But it's still a choice.
Naomi, thank you. That was awesome. Such great information. Obviously, everybody can benefit from it. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me and letting me rant about all the stuff I'm so passionate about.
All good. That's the idea. Thanks for listening to the More Profit, Less Stress podcast. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe or follow on your favorite podcast platform and leave a comment or review if you're feeling generous. To learn more about us and what we do, check out our website. Until next time, take care.